It started with a flicker in the dim glow of the server room. The kind of quiet betrayal that doesn't announce itself, but sinks in like rust on exposed wiring. I was knee-deep in the underfloor maze, rerouting a frayed fiber optic line that had been humming warnings for weeks, when Alex tripped the main breaker. No heads up. No protocol check, just the abrupt choke of power cutting out. Fans whirring to a halt like the life had been sucked from the room. I jerked up, cracked my skull on a low-hanging beam, and clawed my way out, sweat mixing with dust on my face. There he stood, Alex Hale, fresh out of some Ivy League internship, smirking like he'd just won a game of corporate tag. "Oops," he said, not even bothering to hide the amusement. Wanted to test the failover response time. I didn't snap back. Didn't even meet his eyes. I just brushed past him to the control panel, fingers flying over the keys to restart diagnostics. My heart pounding not from the outage but from the realization that this wasn't a mistake, it was entitlement walking all over everything I'd built. 13 years. That's how long I'd poured my soul into Hilltecha's Dallas facility, turning a leaky warehouse relic from the dot-com bust into a fortress of uptime and efficiency. I started as the lone engineer fixing generators that coughed like old smokers during storm season, sleeping on cots during blackouts, negotiating with suppliers who'd written us off as small time. I didn't chase promotions or corner offices. I chased stability, the kind that keeps data flowing when the world outside falls apart. Richard Hale, the CEO, knew it. He'd begged me to stay back in 2014 when his ops director bailed mid-expansion, promising the moon in a contract I drafted myself. But now, with Alex parachuting in, fresh-faced and clueless, it all felt like a setup. The whispers in meetings, Emily. Show Alex the ropes. Then the handoffs, let him handle the vendor calls. And finally, the gut punch, Alex is stepping up to lead. He's got that innovative edge. Innovative? The kid who just blacked out our core systems during a live client sync because he wanted to see? I kept silent. Though, silence had always been my armor. Growing up in a tight-knit Vietnamese-American family in Houston, I'd learned early that words could wound, but quiet endurance cut deeper. My parents fled Saigon with nothing but resolve. Building a life from scraps, my dad fixing cars, my mom sewing late into the night. They taught me that revenge isn't loud, it's patient. Like waiting for the right moment to tighten a loose bolt before the whole machine shakes apart. So I nodded at Richard's announcements, handed Alex dummy checklists he'd fumble through, and documented every slip in a private log no one else could access. Deep down, the hurt gnawed, a slow burn of betrayal from a man I'd trusted like family, replacing me with blood ties that meant nothing in the face of hard-earned expertise. The envelope sat empty on my desk that afternoon, a stark white insult after Richard called me in for the transition talk. No plans. No timelines, just blank pages. As if my decade-plus of sweat could be erased with a shrug. He lounged in his executive chair, the one I'd coordinated delivery for during the office remodel, fingers steepled like a benevolent king. "Emily, you're irreplaceable for training him," he said, voice smooth as polished chrome. Irreplaceable? I stared back, the words bitter on my tongue. So instead of running the systems I architected, I'm demoted to babysitter for your son. His chuckle grated. Alex brings fresh perspectives, cloud-native strategies from his stint at that fintech startup. Fresh? Like rebooting a server farm on a whim? I swallowed the rage, letting it coil inside, and asked softly, "Have you double-checked the contracts? The ones tying everything together, NDAs, infrastructure rights. All still in play?" His eyes narrowed for a split second before he waved it off. "It's just oversight now, Emily. Alex has the vision." Vision. The word echoed like a hollow promise as I left his office, Passing walls lined with awards I'd helped secure, industry nods for zero downtime migrations, energy-efficient designs that saved millions. I'd pitched those stories to trade mags, mapped those client flows. Even the failover protocols Alex would botch were mine, down to the last line of code. But as I walked the sterile halls, the isolation hit harder, the sidelong glances from colleagues who'd stopped looping me in, the meetings rescheduled without my input. It wasn't just a job slipping away, it was my identity. The quiet pride in being the unseen force holding chaos at bay. That night, alone in my apartment overlooking the sprawling Texas suburbs, I pulled up the old contract file. Not out of spite, but survival. Clause 18D stared back, a safeguard I'd insisted on. Buried in legalese. Triggered by any familial reassignment diluting my role. It wasn't flashy, just a quiet guarantee of vested equity and performance-based payout if they pushed me out for nepotism. Richard had signed it without a second thought. Now, it would be his undoing. The next morning, the server hum felt heavier. Like the air itself anticipated the storm. I sat cross-legged on the cold floor amid the racks, steam from my coffee curling up untouched, watching the monitors cycle through flawless screens. I didn't tamper, didn't need to. My systems were self-healing, built to outlast egos. At 8:47 a.m., the door burst open. Richard's voice boomed, "Emily. Time to onboard Alex properly." I rose deliberately. Envelope in hand, notarized. Sealed. Time-stamped. Handed over my badge first. Then placed the resignation on the console with precision. "I'm out," I said. Voice steady as a baseline reading. Alex stammered. "Wait. What about the handover?" Richard's face tightened as he tore into the envelope, eyes scanning the invocation of Clause 18D. Recognition dawned, not panic yet, but the cold dawn of consequence. "This is extreme," he muttered. "Extreme was handing my life's work to someone who treats it like a toy," I replied, turning away. The elevator doors closed on their stunned faces, and for the first time in years, I breathed freely. By 9:15, I was gone, but the ripples had just begun. Back in 2014, Richard had cornered me in the break room during a frantic upgrade, sweat beading on his brow as clients threatened to jump ship. "Emily, name your terms, just don't leave." I drafted the contract with ironclad care, embedding Clause 18D, immediate exit rights with full equity vesting and a payout tied to 5-year uptime averages if reassigned for family favoritism. No arbitration needed. It activated on resignation. He'd initialed every page. Legal stamped it. And we moved on. I never forgot, though kept it as a silent bow against the day loyalty turned to liability. Now, as my attorney fielded their frantic calls, the math crystallized, $6.9 million. Calculated from the flawless metrics I'd maintained. It wasn't greed, it was justice. A quantified echo of the betrayal that had eroded my trust, leaving scars no apology could mend. The first day post-walkout, disbelief hung over Hail Tech like static. Richard probably paced his office, convinced I'd cave. But I'd learned from my family's stories the quiet strength in holding ground, letting actions speak where words failed. By day 2, vendors pinged, confirming continuity with Emily Hayes before release. Alex's bungled responses triggered holds. Contracts I'd negotiated stalling without my sign-off. Day 3. Diagnostics locked, custom scripts keyed to my certs, leaving Alex fumbling in the dark. The hurt twisted deeper, not just professional slight, but the personal sting of being discarded like outdated hardware. My sacrifices invisible to those who reaped the rewards. As the 18-day settlement window ticked, my clause's built-in cliff, panic escalated. Clients froze uploads, need Emily's verification or we trigger audits. One major insurer bolted to my new gig at Apex Networks. A $2.1 million contract evaporating from Hailtech's books. Richard's emails pleaded, "Let's discuss." I forwarded them untouched, letting legal's curt replies underscore the isolation he'd imposed on me. The board call imploded, slides flashing liabilities. Vendors on hold. Reputations fracturing. Richard's voice cracked over leaked audio. Blame shifting to Alex, who vanished from the chart like a deleted entry. No fanfare. Just quiet erasure, the same silence I'd endured. At Apex, my badge felt earned, not inherited. The CTO handed me keys to expansion without second-guessing, respecting the expertise I'd honed through pain. Hailtech staggered on systems still humming for my designs, but stuttering under neglect. Driving by one evening, I sensed the imbalance, heat drifts, irregular fans, a testament to the cost of betrayal. Richard paid the clause in full. But the real price was the hollow empire left behind. A reminder that silence isn't weakness, it's the foundation cracking under unearned weight. I didn't gloat, didn't need to. The machines, impartial as ever, told the story in their faltering rhythm, outlasting the egos that tried to silence me.